homes and shutting down roads.
A powerful tornado in Oklahoma ripped roofs off buildings, knocked down power poles, and sent emergency crews rushing into a rural community near Vance Air Force Base.
Look at that! It's a satellite tornado! Good night!
Video provided by KWTV. KOTV shows multiple occurrences across a field.
Tornado on the ground going through the wind farm out here,
destroying buildings in its path.
East in the trees.
As debris flew through the air.
It's right there. It's right there.
The confirmed tornado moved across parts of Enid, a city of about 50,000 people. While there were no immediate reports of fatalities, police say there had been early reports of people trapped in homes and extensive damage. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, mostly cloudy skies with scattered showers and storms, especially through midday, high temperatures into the mid-70s. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 49. Saturday, sunny and cooler, back in the lower 60s for high temperatures, and for Sunday, partly cloudy up to 66. Showers and storms becoming likely Monday, a high of 72 degrees. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now it's 68.
Those headaches and stomach aches your child gets may be migraine. 10% of children and 28% of adolescents have migraine disease. Migraine at School can help. Learn more at migraineatschool.org. As a parent, I know how migraine impacts my daughter's ability to learn. Every child deserves the chance to flourish in school. Visit migraineatschool.org. Sponsored by the Coalition for Headache and Migraine Patients.
We got out of Washington State, and I think a week after, state went on lockdown for COVID.
So then when we transitioned to Texas, it was very much so like, what are we going to do now?
Operation Homefront has allowed our family to make something of ourselves again in the world after the military.
It's completely changed the way our life is. It took us from a hopeless situation, and now we're homeowners. We have a savings account. I'm the first one to own a home out of my siblings.
Visit OperationHomefront.org to learn more.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Friday morning, progressives. And yes, all the rest of folks that are joining our big tent, getting involved and saying, yeah, I want to get in the fight. Welcome to the April 24th, 26th edition. April 24th, 2026 edition. There we go. Of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is the number. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. And we're also broadcasting on AM 950 in Minneapolis, AM 1520, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. Email me at richard@WCPT820.com and follow me on all the socials. Yes, everything from Spoutable to X and everything in between. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Patty Vasquez driving you home. It's The Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath, and Out Chicago, as well as all of our other shows throughout the course of the day. You can catch a lot of our good stuff by just going to our website and to the Heartland Signal website as well. And that's where I always like to send everybody, because why? There's stuff there that you can like and share and be better informed. Here's a couple of them specifically for you guys to take a peek at. Texas State Rep Mitch Little, Republican in Louisville District, is a co-author of a bill to require Texas public schools to display the Ten Commandments in classrooms. Refuses to say whether he thinks teachers from other religions have a right to be displayed as well. Leaning into, once again, this whole conversation that we are a Christian nation. We're a Christian nationalist nation. There's no doubting that. And you heard General Manor speak to this when he said that that's what, they're working hard to exclude and include only. So check out that article there. Another one, Iowa State Rep Amy Fiora from says, let's see. Ask why Republicans are looking to suppress the rights of LGBTQ plus children in foster care while not trying to fix the current system, which is allowing tragedies like starvation and others to children that have been in that system. Fix the system. Systems are broken. We've talked about this time and time again. So make your way over. Just a couple of quick highlights of some of the great articles that we have there, and give some love to our folks at our digital platform, and make sure that in our digital newsroom, make sure that you like and share those articles that you find there that are interesting to you. On today's show, we will be busy and having some fun. In the 6:30 hour, Maria Pappas and Hal Dardick will be with us to talk about Cook County taxes. And they have definitely seen some increases. We're going to talk about a report that they put together, highlighting that and explaining some of it in some ways. Our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast will be with us here in studio in the 7 o'clock hour, talking all things politics. And I'll leave it there because Karen and I will get after it when she's here. And then in the 7:30 hour, wrapping up the day, we'll have Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. It's construction season in Chicago, and I'm going to get after the mayor about construction, but we'll have some of a good conversation there. So stay tuned and get your notebooks out, because that's what we're going to be doing. This week's been really, a great week of questions, and just as a little bit of a review of what we've asked you this week. On Monday, we asked a question around healthcare and AI. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we talked a little bit more about AI. And I asked on Monday what you guys thought that AI is doing or has done to our healthcare industry, and if it has improved it, could make it worse. Tuesday, we talked about how AI may affect, if it hasn't already, our midterm elections, if not other elections, but specifically it was about midterms for 2026. And then on Wednesday, how AI may have affected your life personally, personal experience. Yesterday, we asked a question about voter depression versus voter suppression, which is worse. So that's where we've been with questions this week. Then your thoughts. Love to hear from you today about those thoughts. But today's question is, who was your favorite two guests that we had this week? How about that? Who were your favorite two guests? Let us know. Whatever you do, give us a call, send us a text. You can send me an email at richard@WCPT820.com. And you can go to our Facebook page and like the conversation there, or leave your comments there about our questions of the week. And certainly today's question is, who are your favorite two guests that we've had on Choose Views this past week? So, and if you need me to give you a rundown, can I do that real quickly? Oh my goodness. Things get away from me, and then I put them over here, and there we go. Here it is. Aha. Monday, Bill O'Neill, Mike Nellis. Tuesday, Ike Freeman, Joe Walsh, Bobby Kogan. Wednesday, Amy Rasmussen, Kurt Mullett, Amy McGrath. Yesterday, Dr. Abdul Syed, General Randy Manor, and Brian Lemick. So there you go. Quick review of the week. Who were your favorites? Who did you really learn something from? Who really kind of caught your attention throughout the course of the week, and what did you think about what they had to say? So let us know by reaching out to us here, phone, text, email, and certainly going over to our Facebook page. There's always something going on with this administration, and it has a trickle-down effect no matter how we look at it, more than probably ever before in the presidency, even his first presidency. But I want to play a clip that really gets into how close to the to the fire some of the folks are when it comes to negotiations in Israel, why we're so deeply involved with Netanyahu, and who is advising. Let's hit him with that clip, Henry.
The president's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, was literally one of the important figures in Benjamin Netanyahu's reelection campaign and helped him get reelected. It is a huge freaking problem. She's the one who's the gatekeeper. She's the one who gets to decide what kind of information the president of the United States has access to, what types of conversations he's allowed to have. It is a huge problem when Israelis and their assets have infiltrated every nook and cranny of the U.S. federal government and carry out policies that are favorable to the Israelis and detrimental to the American people.
Yep. No two ways about it. That was Anna Kasparian, by the way. And, Susie Wiles, we know that she was recently diagnosed with breast cancer, and we're pulling for her in that space. I said that when we first found out about it. And said then it's the same healthcare system that she's been, advising the president on and other matters as chief of staff is the one that's going to hopefully save her life and take care of her, which it should do. I've said that. No questions there. But damn, she's advising Netanyahu, has been in the past, and we wonder why we have such a funky relationship right now when it comes to why we can't pull away from some of the bad parts of being in bed with this Israeli government. That's a thing that Dr. Syed said it best yesterday, probably said better than anyone that I've heard about. We can be critical of somebody that we have a relationship with and not have to be consumed with it being viewed as racist or biased. The Israeli government has been detrimental to our form of government and living. There's no question about that. That has nothing to do with folks of the Jewish faith or the Muslim faith, of any other faith. But it does have to do with how Israel runs their country, their government. And so to have the president's chief of staff, and here's the thing, how many people knew about that? It's making the airwaves today. I caught it yesterday. It's going to be out there today. But how many people knew about that? Why didn't we know clearly up front about that with her? Because they didn't want us to know. They didn't want us to know. And it's come out now, and it should have come out before. But now that it's out, it's a question of how we hold her to account. I think it's a legitimate question to ask. So what is it that you've known? I mean, did she know more about the attack? I mean, it opens up so many questions, Henry, about things that are important to the United States of America. They should be. Because if she's the chief of staff for the president, that stuff doesn't just happen by accident. Henry and I are walking down the street and we're like, oh, yeah, man, come on and work in the studio with us. No, that doesn't happen. We got to go through whatever the rigors are. We got to go through them. Mm-hmm. And it needs to be exposed how Henry and I walking down the street saw this guy or gal and we're like, yeah, come on in. Mm-hmm. Same thing should apply to them. This is where we get into the question around accountability, which is one of the things that Amy McGrath talked about this week. And Dr. Syed did as well. But we're going to hold ourselves accountable here and take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And now, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. Cancer screening tests can help keep the person you love around longer by detecting changes before cancer develops, or catch it early when it may be easier to treat. And many tests are available for free or are covered by insurance. It's time to sound like a broken record. Tell all your friends and family, I love you. Get screened. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
I think my biggest challenge was getting through to him to understand that love is real, and you have goals in mind, you have things that want to happen, and I want to help you get there.
Sometimes people tend to shy away from wanting to adopt teenagers because they feel like they've lost so much, but there's still so much to gain.
Just knowing that there's just that other person that cares and loves me out there, it feels great. And they've done so much for me, and I can only be appreciative every single day for just having them in my life.
I think it's been the best decision because I gained a son, and he's the best son ever. If I was down and out, he'd be there.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt U.S. Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
From the personal experiences that shaped you to the accomplishments that shaped the world, every moment of a veteran's service is meaningful. At the Library of Congress Veterans History Project, we ensure those moments are never forgotten. For 25 years, the collection has made the experiences of U.S. military veterans accessible to all. Veterans, now is the time to share your story and make our history more complete. To submit your stories, photographs, and documents, visit loc.gov/vets today.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Mike's on, truth's out. This is Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. A couple of quick Chew's Views news items on this April 24th, 2026. The U.S. is nearing a deal to rescue Spirit Airlines. You guys may have heard about this. Trump administration is nearing a deal to loan Spirit Airlines as much as $500 million, according to the Wall Street Journal. In return, the government will receive a stake as large as 90% in the struggling budget carrier once it emerges from bankruptcy, according to Bloomberg. Spirit has filed for bankruptcy protection twice in about 18 months. Earlier this week, rumors swirled that the airline could be soon liquidated. Oil prices and the conflict in Iran have driven this latest liquidation concern. Starbucks is betting on $100 million of a move to Nashville. It's moving there. They're moving forward with plans for a $100 million office in Nashville, even though many workers are wary about relocating. The coffee giant said this week that it ultimately expects to house 2,000 employees at the new facility, though it will cut some tech jobs rather than move them, according to Bloomberg. Starbucks has tried to encourage relocation with stock grants and travel reimbursement, but it's told employees to expect pay cuts due to Nashville's lower cost of living. And I feel for the employees that would have to move from Seattle, higher cost of living, higher income, all the rest. But there you go. So we'll keep you posted there. YouTube is expanding its deepfake detection tool to anyone at risk. Its deepfake tool has having to do with the likeness being misused by artificial intelligence. The rollout builds on a pilot program that launched with talent firms like Creative Artist Agency, and before it's opening up to politicians and public officials this year. Deepfake detection is critical in an industry where reputation, of course, is everything. The expansion comes as deepfakes have accelerated rapidly, with AI-generated videos of folks like Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise going viral. All right. And, of course, the war, Americans slash earnings outlook thanks to the $4 billion fuel hit. American slashed its yearly earnings forecast yesterday after incurring an estimated $4 billion hit from surging jet fuel prices. Airlines are now expecting earnings to drop to $1.10 a share on average, down from the previous high estimated at $2.70 back in January before the war. And let's see. WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders voted yesterday to approve the $110 billion buyout from Paramount Skydance, bringing an end to the extended high-profile bidding war that's been going on with the entertainment giant. Once the deal is finalized and passes antitrust review in the U.S. and EU and other jurisdictions, investors will receive $31 in cash. Many Hollywood professionals and Richard Chew have been vocal in opposing this merger, which they say will lead to layoffs and higher production costs. But in my mind, it's not just going to lead to that. It's also going to lead to fewer major studios competing, a consolidated control over messages and things like news and distribution of news and information, as I've said before. And of course, the concern around jobs and consumer choice. This consolidation of media and the distribution of what we see and hear and read. I've had a problem with this for a long time, and particularly given who the paramount people are in terms of the Ellison family. They are in the pocket with Trump and the administration and a bunch of other tech boys and tech bros that are trying to, be masters of the universe. No pun intended. I'm not down with this, and I hope that the shareholders who look at this can review it in a way that allows them to continue to oppose it, if not stop it. So there you go. And then last but not least, the U.S. is reclassifying some marijuana, boosting business and research. Check this one out. The Department of Justice yesterday, Henry, said that they're going to reclassify state-regulated marijuana, which is a shift that could dramatically increase sales of legal cannabis in the future. The directive moves licensed marijuana products from the highly controlled Schedule 1, a category which includes heroin, to a Schedule 3, which is considered less dangerous. Though it doesn't make recreational marijuana legal at a federal level, the partial reclassification will lessen the taxes paid by companies that sell legal marijuana products. It could also allow more clinical research involving the drug. So, there you go. A couple of quick Choose Views news items on this Friday, April 24th, 2026. Here's some things that are happening today on Live, Local, and Progressive. I'll be in for Joan Esposito. Yes, I will be there. So give us a shout because we're going to have some fun. My guests include Majid Padelin, who is the also known as Brooklyn Dad Defiant. He'll be hanging out with us. Rachel Bidikofer, national political analyst and editor of The Cycle on Substack and author of Hit 'Em Where It Hurts, will be with us. And Lisa Stark, former ABC News reporter, and Ian Cameron, former ABC News executive producer, will be joining me to talk about the upcoming White House Correspondents' Dinner. 3 to 5, my host will be Enrico Moat, who you guys have had the pleasure of hanging out with, who's hung out with me in the past. Who's the director of brand partnerships at Mirror Digital. So looking forward to having him in studio to chop it up. Live, Local, and Progressive weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. And then tonight, driving it home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by co-host Dr. Susanna Flores, as well as Skip Griparis, musician and actor, Jessica Crouch, registered nurse at St. Joseph Health Regional Hospital in Bryan, Texas, and union organizer. Whitney Rydell, U.S. Navy veteran, WCPT intern, and founder of Yes and Adventures, will be also hanging out with Patty. So lots going on. Tomorrow is Saturday. That means it's the Democracy Stupid, which is hosted by Edwin Eisendrath. His guests will include Christopher Hale, author and publisher of Letters to Leo, Alan Elrod, president and CEO of the Pulaski Institution, Daniel Nakian, who is the editor and writer and journalist who works on criminal justice, and Karen Talian, attorney, former member of the Indiana State Senate and chair of the Indiana Democratic Party since March of 2025, will be joining Edwin. It's the Democracy Stupid, Saturdays 1 to 4 Central here on WCPT. Wow. And next week's going to be pretty busy. I'll let you guys know about that in the next hour, but we got a lot going on with our guests on Choose Views next week. Okay, so as we get ready for our first guest in the 6:30 hour, throughout the course of this week, we've been talking, we've asked some questions, and we've been trying to get your comments around those. And I appreciate what you guys have sent us, whether it be in text or in email, and some have even called in. So we'll keep doing that. Gotten some really, really good responses from you guys about not just the questions, the specifics of the questions, but that we're getting your thoughts on some of the things that are happening that we're all dealing with. So I appreciate you guys kind of being there to tell us what you think, how we should ask the question, how we should phrase the question, what the question should sound like, and all that good stuff. So it'll be good to hear from everybody. Let's see. We got already some folks chiming in. Let's see what we got. Oh, all right. Here's some comments about guests for the week. Mike Nellis, always my favorite to listen to for his progressive way, and that the Dems need to move forward. He has some of the best advice for Dems, how Dems need to react, plan, campaign, protest, and do social media. There you go. Thanks, Rissa, down in South Carolina. We appreciate your comments in that space. Mike's always good and is always bringing the good the good advice, but also the good observations. All right, there we go. People said that they enjoy hearing from Kurt Mullet. All right, that's good to know too. There you go. Shout out to Kurt. Shout out to Mike. Send us more. Who you enjoy hearing on Choose Views, and obviously we're going to do our best to keep you guys filled up with people who bring good information, good content. And the reason that I wanted to ask that question today, and I may ask it again about your favorite for the week, we may make it a regular thing on Fridays. The reason I asked the question is we talk so much about folks being involved in the process and people speaking out, people talking about, and you know, just making certain that the voices are heard. Well, one of the things that has happened for me with this show is that I have, by listening to other people on social media platforms, I've found people, I've met people. That's how I met Kurt. That's how I met Amy McDonald. And the list goes on of people that we've had on the show because we found them on social media, or I found them on social media, invited them to be on the show, and they've been a great voice. That's you guys. In case you didn't know, that's y'all. Anywhere in the country. That's y'all. Amy's in Seattle. Kurt's in central Indiana. And the list goes on. So that's why we want to know what you guys think about things, because your thoughts are part of the conversation. Don't let the corporate media and all the rest block you from your thinking and presenting it to the conversation. That's so important. And I appreciate this week, Al has been really on point with some emails to me and some comments. So we want to make sure we keep making it as much as we can about you guys. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. Also, AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Take every road by storm and feel the exhilarating performance in a brand new Porsche from the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. Browse and test drive our extensive selection, like the 2026 Porsche Macan Electric. Right now, lease the 2026 Macan Electric for only $1049 a month for 39 months. Discover performance like no other when you visit the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park or PorscheExchange.com. $9,999 due at signing for qualified buyers. Excludes tax, title, license, and doc fee. No security deposit required. Expires 4/30/26.
Not all people are the same. And yet, when we visit the doctor, our treatments don't look that different. Why is that? Because we just don't have enough information to do it better. By gathering health data from 1 million people, our country's best researchers will be able to develop treatments that are as unique and complex as we are. With this new information, doctors will have a better understanding of disease so they can innovate the next great breakthroughs in medicine. Learn more at joinallofus.org.
This is Senior Corps. 360,000 volunteers age 55 and older, driving results through service, helping communities recover from devastating disasters.
RSVP plays a valuable role. They're still here helping the unmet needs of the community and the survivors of the devastation.
Making sure that those who need assistance can remain in their own homes.
If I didn't have a senior companion, I would be really lost.
Tutoring and mentoring tomorrow's leaders.
The advantage of having foster grandparents working with the children one-on-one, that's a tremendous benefit.
Visit nationalservice.gov or call 1-800-942-2677. This message brought to you by the Corporation for National and Community Service.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, mostly cloudy skies with scattered showers and storms, especially through midday, high temperatures into the mid-70s. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 49. Saturday, sunny and cooler, back in the lower 60s for high temperatures, and for Sunday, partly cloudy up to 66. Showers and storms becoming likely Monday, a high of 72 degrees. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now it's 68.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
It's Choose Views, where we read more than just the headline. Now here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I don't know anybody in the country, no matter what state or city that they live in, that wants to pay higher taxes, whether it be income tax, whether it be tax on their investments, whether it be tax on inheritance tax, whether it be property tax. I don't know anyone that wants to pay more in that space. And when it comes in waves, that makes it even worse. With us this morning are two people who, here in Chicago land area, certainly in Cook County, and frankly the state of Illinois, have been reviewing the tax conversation for a while. Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas, along with Hal Dardick, trustee of the Cook County Pension Fund, and kind of a self-described tax report guy, are with us this morning. Good morning. Welcome to both you, Maria and Hal. Welcome to Choose Views.
Welcome. Happy morning.
Happy morning is right. That's right.
Good morning. Good morning, Richard.
Thanks for.
I'm also the director of research for the Treasurer's office. So
there you go. Like I said, folks that have been doing this for a while, and that's always a good thing. So I'm glad you guys are with me this morning, because I think the big question, or not the question, but the big thing that we want to talk about today is the report that you guys were at the tip of the spear of putting together, and primarily its impact on folks here in Cook County specifically, because it gets into, frankly, the fact that Cook County taxes have grown. I guess grown is the wrong way, but they've exceeded inflation. And not only have they exceeded inflation, but your report gets into the 30-year increases that folks here in Cook County have had to absorb. So let's talk a little bit about that. Maria, let's start with you in terms of you being the Cook County Treasurer, and then Hal, we'll get to you.
Let me give you some background. So I've been at this for quite some time, and what I did was I knew that the only way to affect change was to create a think tank. So what I've done in the office is Hal is the head of that think tank. It is also Todd Leidy and Andy Grimm from the Sun-Times. I also hired Puccinelli from Channel 2. And then there's Chris Silber and Hargis, a University of Chicago graduate. And of course, the old stalwart in there is Bob Benjamin. But that group kind of collectively, headed by Hal and a number of other people in the office, that sort of chime in, Justin Kervin in public policy. We have an area in the office close to where Hal sits, where they sit and they actually think about what needs to be done. So my most commonly asked question in the county is, why have my taxes gone up? So Hal and company are looking at all of the inequities in the property tax system, anything that is affecting someone at a micro level. So this is one of many studies that have been done. They did a previous study showing that $2 billion in commercial properties, because they are unrented and literally empty, have shifted to residences. That was the prior study. We're not going to talk about that today. What we're going to talk about today is the fact that over a 30-year period, it's gone up 182%. Mm-hmm. So why does that happen? What this team did was they looked at every little last nuance in Springfield, because property taxes are regulated by Springfield in terms of what someone can and can't do. But what they also looked at is something that no one understands, and it's called the levy, the Levy. It's not a dam. It is the fact that each of the 2,600 governments in Cook County come in and say, this is how much money I want this year. This is how much money I want this year. Hal's going to go into and describe for you how these governments get around the caps, the PTEL caps that Springfield has in place.
And let me talk about real quickly, because when we have acronyms, people, this early in the morning, people may not know the PTEL is a property tax extension limitation law. So keep going.
So it says 5% or the rate of inflation. So what you have is all these governments collectively coming in and getting more than 5% and more than the rate of inflation. So there are loopholes. There are 5 or 6 loopholes which they systematically collected and put into this report. And I'm going to let Hal talk about how the governments in Cook County get around capping what it is that they are supposed to be doing. Okay.
Hal, give people a little bit more in depth of what the PTEL is, and then go into the loopholes that Maria just talked about.
Sure. I just want to add a little bit of the context to the 182% increase. That's double the rate of inflation over that time.
Right, which was about 92% over that period of time.
So it's taking more and more money out of your pocket. But and during that time, schools went up 189%. They're all bound by what we're calling PTEL, which is the as you said, the property tax extension limitation. Now, extension is another word for levy. It's after it's adjusted. Mm-hmm. So it's supposed to go up in all school districts, no more than the rate of inflation, or 5%, whichever is less.
Right.
So if you take that on its face, it should not have gone up by 189%. It should have gone up by 91%.
Right.
So it's more than double that rate. How do they get around that? Now, one way, and I'm all for democracy. Voters go to the polls and they say, okay, you can levy more than you said. The problem with that is they place these on low turnout referendums. So sometimes you can have 15 or 20% of registered voters making a decision for 100%.
Okay, let me intervene now. Let me just give you an example. In the last election, 20% of the electorate turned out.
Which election are we? Let's be more specific. Which election specifically?
The most recent primary election.
Okay.
The election we just had, countywide, we had a 20% turnout. So let's say that a Chicago suburb put on the ballot a $30 million swimming pool, okay? $30 million swimming pool. In that part, if there's 30,000 people, 6,000 showed up. 3,100 voted for the swimming pool. So all 30,000 are now adding $30 million to their property taxes.
Right.
That's just,
so
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's a proportionate share of the amount of people that vote in any particular.
Well, no one's voting.
Well, but 20% do. So what you're saying is, to use your own words, is that if that low number of people vote, they get an overrepresentation of the money that's actually going to be approved, whether it be the levy, then the extension, or if it's done the right way. So go ahead, Hal.
Hal did another study showing low voter turnout in these referendums. And you might want to look at that on cookcountytreasurer.com. There's a referendum study. You might want to talk about that a lot, because it really shows that really low voter turnout contributes to the increase in property taxes. Sorry, Hal, I just wanted to give that example.
That's all right. Great example. But the other and the big exception are, and I'm going to throw another acronym at you, Richard. I'm sorry, but I'll explain the acronym. But our TIF districts, which are tax increment finance districts, what they do is they freeze the levy that or the assessments that all of the districts can collect from, and then any growth in the assessed values gets taxed at the same rate, goes into a special fund to subsidize development and job creation. But often they declare surpluses. So they're taking that extra money, which is beyond the PTEL limits. It's not limited. If your assessed value goes up by 1,000%, the tax on that TIF can go up by 1,000%. And so then they have extra money. They declare a surplus, give it back to the districts, and that's above and beyond what they would normally tax that year. And then, so that's going on. And then when these TIF districts close, they do what they call recapture. The right word for that is to capture the TIF. So when they capture the TIF, they take all of that money that's being collected and keep it there, and then limit it from that point on. But that could be an exponential growth. There's also new levies that Springfield approves. Chicago Public Schools got a separate levy for their pensions. They needed to do something, but what they did was they gave them a new levy. That is not limited by the tax limitation law. There are bonds that are not limited. And then there is, which I misstated before, the recapture, which means when money's been refunded because of appeals, they can add that on the next year above and beyond the limits. Now, those are the 6 main loopholes in the law. But the bottom line is the tax limitation law is not limiting taxes.
It's not doing what it's written to do, which is then allowing, as Maria said earlier, allowing these multiple jurisdictions or communities to have an inflated number, but have underrepresentation when it comes to the people that are actually voting in those areas. The loopholes are always a concern. I mean, we're going to take a quick break in a moment, but when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the loopholes and get a take from you guys on how those loopholes can be closed, how those loopholes can be managed, and also, Maria, why they are there and how they got there in the first place is probably the way I'll put it. But let's take a quick break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and also our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Maria Pappas. Excuse me, had a cough there with Maria Pappas and Hal Dardick. We'll be right back.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
What's on your to-do list? Check your mail? Get groceries? How about getting your annual vaccines? We can help you check that off.
You've got this.
Yes, you do. Because we've got you. With local vaccine events and access to transportation, protecting yourself and your loved ones is not a chore anymore.
You've got this.
A message from the Aging and Disability Vaccination Collaborative, powered by U.S. Aging. Funded by the U.S. Administration for Community Living through a grant to U.S. Aging. Learn more at yougotthis.usaging.org.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities around the world. From bandaging war-wounded patients in Sudan to providing clean drinking water in Haiti, we're in more than 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving care is made possible by a global movement of supporters like you. Thank you.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Don't hit that snooze button. It's time for Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back. If you're just tuning in, I'm Richard Chew. This is Chew's Views. And we're talking with Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas, who's been doing this for a while, so she knows a little bit about this topic of taxes, and Hal Dardick, trustee of the Cook County Pension Fund. So before we went to the break, we were talking about loopholes, and I wanted to ask you guys both, and maybe Maria, you can start off with this. The loopholes that have allowed much of this to happen, how closable are they? I mean, let's just be honest. The loopholes are at the tipping point, as you both have said, as to why we have this problem or these problems, and they persist, and they've gone on for 30 years based on the report that you put together. How do we close them?
You know, look, if more commercial buildings continue to be sold almost at fire sale, okay, and you can see that. All you pick up cranes and read this was sold, bought for $200 million. It's being sold for 40. I saw an article today about the new Thompson Center that Salesforce is thinking about moving in there, and I'm like, what happened to Google? Why is Google renting this building? Doesn't anybody want to come to work? So, walk up and down Michigan Avenue or State Street, see all these empty buildings. Something will be done when people begin to feel the rumble under them. And what the rumble under them would be, if your tax bill went from $6,000 to $12,000, you begin to say, I can't afford it. Okay? So if this starts to happen in your entire neighborhood, and if you start to see that rental trucks are moving people out, and more places are being abandoned, there will be an uprising. And that uprising is starting because what you do is see people moving out. What you see in report after report after report after report is people aren't buying, they're renting because it's cheaper to rent than it is to buy. Why is it cheaper to rent than it is to buy? Because when you go to the closing, the taxes exceed your mortgage. So people are looking and saying, why would I buy this? Right now, you can go to cookcountytreasurer.com. Put in your address. You don't have to put in your property index number. And on that piece of property, it will give you a 30-year history of the increases. So let's say that you decide that you want to buy in Evanston. You'd have to be out of your mind if you didn't come to my website and look at the 30-year history of that piece of property, because on that is also a study that was done in the office on pension liability, and it will tell you the underlying pension debt on your property. So let's say you buy that place in Evanston, okay? Let's just take an example. There's the underlying pension debt in a suburb is $100 million. There's only 36,000 people there. That 100 million is literally divided by 36,000 people over a 30 or 40 year period. Mm-hmm. So you can look at my internet and you can look at your PIN, you can look at the 30-year history, you can look at the pension liability, and you can almost predict what those underlying obligations are or the credit card debt on your property is. When people realize that it went from 3 to 6 or 6 to 12 and that it's doubling, okay? They're saying, you know what? This is what I hear most often at the counter. What I hear most often at the counter is, Richard, I got to get out of here. So that when you see people leaving and when you see the commercial base of this city eroding and those monies falling on the residences, you're hearing people at the residential level saying, I got to get someplace that I can afford. And that's what's happening.
Right. But and I get that. And I'm one of those same people that have had that, concern about our property taxes because I'm a property owner. The loop, but that doesn't eliminate the loopholes. Well, my question was
The
about
loophole's not going to get eliminated unless the local governments stop spending. It's pretty clear. You can't spend 2,000 when you only have 1,000.
without a doubt. So when we look at that,
And,
though,
and Springfield has to shut these loopholes down. They have to shut. They have to save 5%.
That's what I'm getting to, because with all of this, obviously, it's always going to be the citizens, the consumer, that drives the narrative. And going back to something that Hal said at the beginning or earlier in his comments about businesses and the number of business vacancies, commercial vacancies, and Maria, you commented on this as well. It seems to me, and it's a simple math problem when it comes to understanding this. In my years as a financial advisor, increase the tax base on with the group that has the largest ability to pay it, not putting it on the residents. That means the businesses. So if we have more businesses in the county that are paying a higher percentage of tax, because it's even in your report that says that got shifted to residences, that's not going to close the loopholes. Springfield's got to be involved, but it's going to allow us to have the money to create that barrier wall so that it doesn't fall on the citizens of the entire county, if not parts of the state.
The city of Chicago's become very business unfriendly. I mean, look at what just happened at the Bears Stadium. I mean, it just,
The city,
Boeing leaves, McDonald's leaves. I mean, Ken Griffin leaves. I mean, you have to say to yourself, why are they leaving?
But he didn't own it. But why are they leaving is part of the conversation. But then the other side of that is, if we're talking about the city, we also have to talk about the county, because the report's about the county.
Yes.
So the county, and the example you use as it relates to Evanston, would be applicable throughout all of the communities, all the suburbs. So it's not just the city of Chicago. The city of Chicago's population is only 54% of the entire county. So the other 46%.
Yeah, you've got 163 school districts in the county. It's countywide. You've got 163 school districts, not just Chicago. Roughly 55% of whatever bill you're paying is going to those schools. So
that's one of the, is that one of the loopholes though? Is that one of the loopholes that we can adjust? I mean, that's really what I want to get to. I'm not going to point fingers at any particular part of this, but I want to get you guys to answer the question about what can be done to fix the loopholes or to close the loopholes. That's really what I want to know. And I know I know that listeners want to know, if the loopholes, as you guys have stated, is the issue, then what do we do to close or fix the loopholes?
Yeah. Richard, it's really complicated, because at the same time that's going on, the municipalities, which most of them are home rule, they are not tax limited, are just going to tax as much as they need to pay those pension costs, et cetera.
94 of the 100.
Hold on, Maria, hold on. Let Hal finish his statement. Go ahead, Hal.
Yeah. So they're sort of forced to try to get as much as they can out of the property tax. So Springfield needs to do something. And you talked about a more progressive, more equal way of taxation, whether it's a graduated income tax, perhaps the millionaire's tax that's being talked about now. And Springfield at the same time is mandating these huge pension payments. They are not distributing as much to the municipalities as they used to. They are shifting other costs back to municipalities. And look what they did with the Chicago police and fire pensions, where they increased them and created billions of dollars in extra cost. Did they help pay for those? No. So you got to do that.
Right.
And then you can start to close these loopholes. Say a home rule community then would have some tax limitations if they closed these loopholes and gave them the money that they needed to spend. Say you only are allowed to hold a referendum in a general election when turnout is much higher.
Exactly.
TIF districts, I don't think that could use a lot of work. And what they could do with the TIF districts, you are allowed, if there's new land or new buildings built, to tax that under the principle that services are going to be needed when you put up new buildings. But the growth in the TIF districts is not just the result of new buildings. It's the result of all the new infrastructure, the improved streets, the lights, the sewer systems, whatever. And so let them only capture the new buildings and not the entire TIF district. Don't do levies that are not PTEL limited. Close the...
And hold the line on the PTEL, right?
Yeah, and stop them from being able to issue new bonds without a referendum in any case. I think there should always be a referendum. And the recapture, you could debate that a lot because they're saying, well, I lost those taxes last year, I'm just catching up.
Yeah.
But they could put limitations on that. But it's going to take a new funding scheme in Springfield in order to make this happen. And Springfield needs to be more concerned with what's going on. And I think they are now. I think it is reaching a critical mass.
Maria, you said something earlier. We have to wrap up. But what I want to do is make sure that people, I want to make sure that people do something, and that is to go to your site, because there's so much information there that you guys have worked so hard to put together. Give the website again where people can go.
It is cookcountytreasurer.com. Put in your address. You don't have to put in your PIN.
Right.
It will tell you if you've got exemptions. It will tell you if you've got refunds, give you a 30-year history, tell you the pension. It will tell you the number of employees versus pensioners in your area. You can really learn a lot about your property. But I just wanted to add that on this home rule issue, of the 135 municipalities in Cook County, 94 are home rule, which makes them not subject to what Springfield's saying.
Yeah. Maria Pappas, Hal Dardick, thank you both for being with us. This is a conversation that we could go on and on and on, but I really appreciate and honor to have both of you on the show this morning. Thanks for taking the time.
It's nice of you to have us so early in the morning.
Oh, without a doubt. And go to the website, guys. Listen to what Maria said. Go learn some stuff there.
CookCountyTreasurer.com.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of the day and a good weekend. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, thanks,
All right. Bye-bye. All right, guys, quick break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
After getting my promotion, the time had come to sell our home, so we got an appraisal.
But it was much lower than we expected. Before we had it appraised again, a friend suggested we make some changes.
I put my framed vintage Negro League baseball shirt, our African art, and family photos into storage. And that second appraisal came back much higher.
It's a shame we had to hide who we are to get a fair home appraisal.
A recent study found that Black and Latino homeowners are about twice as likely as white homeowners to get low appraisals. For example, one Black homeowner received an appraisal more than double the original after removing family photos, Black art, and books from her home. If you believe your home has been unfairly appraised because of race or national origin, that could violate the Fair Housing Act. Contact HUD at hud.gov/fairhousing. That's hud.gov/fairhousing. Everyone has a right to fair housing. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Epic parties start at Staples. Now you can grab Party City balloons, decorations, and tableware, plus matching custom invites, banners, and more right at Staples. That was easy.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Iran's top diplomat has called Pakistani officials over the ceasefire in the war with the U.S. and Israel. A statement says Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi spoke with Pakistan's Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar and Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir. Araghchi's statement said the men spoke about, quote, regional developments and issues related to the ceasefire without elaborating. Pakistan has been trying to bring U.S. and Iranian officials back to the negotiating table in Islamabad, where they had hoped to have talks earlier this week, but did not happen. President Trump has announced a deal with drug maker Regeneron to lower the cost of its pharmaceutical products as part of the White House's signature drug pricing initiative.
It's the biggest price reduction in drugs in history. By itself, we should win the midterms, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. It doesn't work that way. People forget too quickly, but we'll have it's the biggest cut in drug prices in the history of our country by many percentage points.
The agreement involves Regeneron lowering prices on all current and future drugs on Medicaid, according to Trump. It also includes selling the cholesterol drug Prolaint for $225 on the White House's discounted drug website TrumpRx. Fernando Mendoza's journey from overlooked two-star recruit to the top of the NFL draft is complete after the Las Vegas Raiders took him with the first pick last night.
Whatever team was going to select me and be a good fit, but deep down in my heart, I knew the Raiders were most likely going to be the best fit.
The Heisman Trophy winner led Indiana to its first national championship. The 22-year-old quarterback was not in the Steel City for the festivities, choosing instead to celebrate with family and friends at home in Miami. More stories at apnews.com. This is AP News. The artificial intelligence rivalry between the U.S. and China is heating up. AP correspondent Donna Warder reports.
The Chinese artificial intelligence startup DeepSeek has launched preview versions of its latest major update, DeepSeek's V4, and users can't wait to see how it measures up against U.S. competitors OpenAI's ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, and Google's Gemini. DeepSeek says its new V4 open source models, which include Pro and Flash versions, have big improvements in knowledge, reasoning, and the ability to perform complex tasks and workflows autonomously. Marina Zhang, an associate professor at the University of Technology, Sydney, calls DeepSeek's V4 rollout a pivotal milestone for China's AI industry. I'm Donna Warder.
World shares were mostly lower while oil prices pushed higher today. U.S. futures also wavered after Wall Street pulled back from its all-time highs. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, mostly cloudy skies with scattered showers and storms, especially through midday, high temperatures into the mid-70s. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 49. Saturday, sunny and cooler, back in the lower 60s for high temperatures, and for Sunday, partly cloudy up to 66. Showers and storms becoming likely Monday, a high of 72 degrees. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now it's 66.
You know that Chick-fil-A sells more than chicken, right?
Hello, my name is Jaleesa, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit is how it's all of my favorite breakfast items in one good bite. That fluffy egg, that melty cheese with that perfectly grilled sausage. It just gives you that warmth, that comfort food that you love. It is the best possible option for a classic breakfast.
Comfort is calling. Order a Chick-fil-A sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit with Simply Orange Juice on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
I always had to be so good, no one could ignore me. Carve my path with data and drive. But some people only see who I am on paper. The paper ceiling, the limitations from degree screens to stereotypes that are holding back over 70 million stars. Workers skilled through alternative routes, rather than a bachelor's degree. It's time for skills to speak for themselves. Find resources for breaking through barriers at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Chicago's progressive talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
No fake news here. It's Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. Thanks to Maria Pappas and Hal Dardick for bringing us a little bit of information about property taxes in the great county of Cook. And make sure to go to the Cook County Treasurer's website. There is a ton of information there, and follow the recommendation that Maria made in terms of pulling up where you are and just being informed. I mean, that's what I got to tell you. You want to be informed here. And I look at it from this perspective. There are major fissures in our tax code, tax policy, tax assessment. Not just here in Chicago, Cook County, the other counties in northern Illinois, but throughout the country. You know, there's a lot of information about property taxes that's out there all over the nation, and it's an issue that we all are dealing with. I can talk to people in Portland or people in Pittsburgh, and I'm sure that there'll be some conversations around their property taxes are higher than they want them to be. So part of what I think about with this is what's going on a federal level that's causing our incomes to stagnate. You know, we talk about property tax, but what about income stagnation? Why is that happening? How come the minimum wage is not $15 an hour or $20 an hour when we're throwing away money in a damn war? We raised those numbers. Guess what? Fill in the blanks. With us this morning, it's Friday.
I'm dubbing last segment Bam Zap Zoom because you had some good questions there.
Well, that's the voice of Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast. And Karen, it is always great to see you and great to have you in studio with us. Yeah, I mean, it's a national issue. It's not just Cook County. Yes, this is the county that we live in here, and others may live in some of the surrounding counties. It's a national concern.
Absolutely.
And we should, in the same vein that we're talking about this, which it sucks. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna try to pretend like higher property taxes is a good thing. It's not. Let's lower them. Let's do the things to lower them. But we don't talk enough about, I believe, the lack of income for so many Americans. It's part of this conversation around affordability.
Absolutely.
You hear this conversation around affordability. Everybody's talking about affordability. Let's make things less expensive. How about this, y'all? How about pay people more money?
Right.
Across the board.
Absolutely.
And stop lying to ourselves about, oh, we can't do that, but we can go kill some babies with bombs in the Middle East.
Or we can give massive tax breaks to millionaires, billionaires, and multinational corporations while we can't raise the minimum wage for 40 years. 40 years. It's absolutely
How in the hell do we have
ridiculous.
that conversation about the property tax increase, when we're not at the same time talking about the increase? Because, see, here's the other thing. Going back to something that Maria said so well, you look at where your property tax numbers are, and when you go to close, and we get that. You as a realtor, you've seen this more than most people time and time again. But I'm telling you this, that if that person who's worked hard and been saving had been able to have, let's say, a 15 to 18% increase in their aggregate income over the same years that they were saving for the down payment for that property.
That's right.
Guess what? They'd have more money in the bank. They'd probably have more money to invest in whatever it is that they choose to invest in. And that property tax number would not be so staggering. It'd still be the number, but it would be less staggering if that person had a 15 to 18% increase in their compensation over a period of time.
And the reason that elections matter, because that is a piece of the pie right there. The reason that elections matter is because of, exactly what Maria Pappas was saying, that if you don't get out and vote for, referendums, but it's all about having conversations and informing people. And so it's kudos to you for sending people to the right resources, and so that they can share with their family and friends, so that they can learn exactly what the consequences are. We're seeing big consequences right now. In people not turning out, the majority of eligible voters in this country in 2024 sitting out. People are starting to wake up to that. I have a lot of people that family members weren't voting in every single election. They would vote, when it was on their radar. But now, people are like, this is why it matters. I think people are waking up. And so this is the time to really have those conversations. And this is at, the local level here, but also as far as saving for a down payment, Joe Biden had a solution in a way for young people, first-time home buyers, to be able to save for a down payment. Kamala Harris had, what was it, $25,000 for first-time home buyers, and people rejected that.
They did.
That's what happens when you stay home. You're rejecting those kinds of things.
But there's two rejections. I'm sorry, Karen. I don't want to mess up your point. There's two rejections: the folks that stayed home, and the people that had the information in front of them and willingly voted for, willfully or willingly. Whichever. They made the decision consciously to vote for Trump.
Yes,
And if they're whining about I don't have the down payment to buy a house, guess what? The brown-skinned lady and the old sleepy dude had ways for you to make that
That's
happen.
right.
And you said, nah, screw you.
I mean, he put forward an executive order to wipe out student loan debt. Okay, the Republicans brought that to the Supreme Court.
Yep.
They stopped that, and despite that fact, he was still able to provide
to work around it,
and provide a percentage, not not what he wanted to do with it.
And how could you not want? I mean, that's the part. I had a couple of family members that said to me, well, Richard, I just don't get. I paid my student loans off. Why should somebody else get the relief of the student loan if I have to pay mine? And I looked at one of my family members when he asked me the question, and I was like, does it hurt you that somebody else gets a break?
Right.
Like, does it make your life worse that they got a break? And he looked at me and said, yeah, but I don't think it's fair that I had to pay. I said,
it's not that they're.
It's not about being fair.
Right.
It's the timing of things. And then I put something into the context about race, and I said, when I introduced, and I won't repeat it on the air, he was like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Disproportionately,
Yeah, and so we have to be mindful of the fact that legislation that gets passed, sometimes, I won't say you miss it, but it passed at a time when, there were different things in place.
Right.
That doesn't mean it's bad legislation, and it also shouldn't mean that one should feel like somebody got something I didn't get. Because what I presented to this family member was, it was a cultural thing. So, and I talked about, if you want to have this conversation, let's really dig deeper.
Right.
The bigger point to what you're saying, Karen, I believe, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, is that voter depression and suppression and inactivity ends up having a hugely negative effect on all of us. And this is part of what Maria was saying in terms of the numbers of people that don't vote.
Yes.
That didn't vote in the most recent primary. And I've got some data that we'll talk about, as we get through our segment. But people have got to stop saying and complaining and whining, frankly. And I know people get after me on social media about, Richard, why are you blaming the voters? Because I'm not blaming I don't want to say because. I'm not blaming the voters. I'm asking the voters to do differently.
Right.
The politicians will only do what you force them to do.
We are inviting you to get informed. We are inviting you to participate because democracy is not a spectator sport, as Tom Hartman says all the time. You have got to do your due diligence and get informed. There is a price of time, and I know that, we were talking about it. There was, if you, the voter turnout is dependent on income and, property, ownership. But, and people are tired. They're working 2 and 3 jobs. And so there isn't a lot of time. And the bad guys, they depend on that. They count on keeping you sick and tired.
They want the depression and
That's
suppression.
what they want. So, then you're not going to come out and you're not going to use your power, which is your voice, which is your vote.
Yeah. This is a quick study that came from the U.S. Census Bureau that really, and I'll give you guys the edited version as best I can. While 58% of eligible homeowners turned out to vote in the midterm elections, just 37% of eligible renters cast their ballot. Think about that for a second. So it does, and that so nobody get their stuff in a bundle. We're not making any judgments or passing any judgments on renters versus homeowners. But there is a part of this conversation that there's a disparity, not just in terms of homeowners versus renters. There's also a disparity in the income relevant to the community. And this is where here in Chicago, when we talk about lack of voter turnout, some of that's driven by the fact that higher incomes, and it's a national thing. It's not just Chicago or Cook County, historically and nationally.
Yeah.
Higher income across all cultures, by the way. Talk about a dotted line that connects us. Irrespective of culture, higher income communities vote more regularly in all elections.
Yeah.
So to say that it's to I don't want to hear any government official of any level blame it on a particular community only.
Right.
That this is something that only happens in Cook County. This happens across the country.
Right.
So the data's there, and it comes from the Census Bureau, not from a locality, a local municipality. So that's a national phenomenon because it's studying it based on what the census data gives us.
Right.
So anyhow,
and it's unfortunate because I can see that it is still I was always told that it's always better to buy property than to rent property, right? Because you're basically taking your money and throwing it away. But we are at a place where even like, especially now, where it is important for people to be able to have access to home ownership because the rents are out of control.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the people that are renting, it is imperative, really, for them to start paying attention.
Yeah.
And getting out there and voting because because you guys are paying the price.
Yeah.
You
no
are
kidding.
paying the price. And, we are all, I think everybody, unless you have $1 million in your bank account, a couple million in your bank account, we are all feeling the crunch right now and the consequences of the 2024 election.
Yeah. Karen, we're going to take a tiny break. Let's do that. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We're hanging out with our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast. We'll be right back.
In 1776, we defied a corrupt king, and the America we love was born from that defiance. Now it's time to do it again. America is in crisis, but patriots across the country are standing up to save her for ourselves and our posterity. Show your support with the No King's lapel pin, a 1-inch by 1-inch standard American flag lapel pin embedded with our No King symbol. So much better than that tacky red hat. It's a subtle but powerful way to say you've had enough of wannabe dictators and you're doing something about it. Every day, keep our movement going by wearing this pin that clearly says what freedom-loving Americans are thinking. There are no kings in America, and there never will be. Go to store.politicalvoicesnetwork.com. That's store.politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Get your No Kings lapel pin now.
Teachers are dynamic leaders, shaping a new generation. They bring a variety of perspectives from diverse backgrounds, innovating how they teach to prepare students for our fast-changing world. Achieving this takes skill and expertise. They're tireless explorers, creatively discovering a universe of solutions, telling stories, experimenting, inspiring, mentoring, connecting cultures, and connecting with each other. Leading by example. Experience the unique joy of helping students thrive. Teaching is a journey that shapes lives. Are you ready to begin? Explore teaching at teach.org, a campaign supported by the U.S. Department of Education, teach.org, and 1 million teachers of color.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
We may be waking up, but we're still engaged. It's Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning in, this is Choose Views, and I'm Richard Chu, and we're talking with our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast, also known as Karen from Chicago. All right, Karen, this week there's a whole garbage can of stuff that's happened. But one of the things that
another week in America,
is that we saw that the SAVE Act got a little bit of a firewall put around it, and it wasn't. Excuse me, guys. It hasn't gone forward. The current status is the Senate has failed to advance the bill, and this has been multiple times. They can't even get. They're just barely getting past 50. What do you think that says about the SAVE Act and what people who might be the constituents of those members of Congress are saying to those members of Congress?
I think they're figuring out that it is not a good thing, and I think that they're hearing from people saying that this is not a good thing. I mean, they're disenfranchising any woman who took her husband's name when they got married. That is Republican women.
As well as Democratic women.
Some Democratic women. More Democratic women that I know did not do that. Okay, they didn't do that. 100%, I guarantee you, of these Republican...
You're about to get into some dangerous territory here, Karen.
100% of these Republican voting women, because, you know, they vote by proxy.
You think
they took every single one of their last names.
You think Susie Wiles took her husband's name, or did she keep her father's name?
Oh.
You know who her father was?
Who was her father?
Summerall. He was the former
Summerall. That's
Summerall.
Not the same last
name is Wiles.
Wiles.
Wiles is shorter by 6-8 letters.
Something. Yeah.
She's a daughter of Pat Summerall, the famed CBS broadcaster.
Uh-huh.
So I wonder what's going to happen there. I shouldn't be picking on her today, but I'm not picking on her.
Why
I'm
not?
just, I mean,
Go for it.
Did she realize that,
this is you,
hanging
boo.
out with Netanyahu and then hanging out with Trump? Did you hear what I said earlier about that?
Yes, I did.
But SAVE Act, yes.
Yes.
It's there is a side of our politics that's
it's kind of a third rail.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, Erica Kirk, but, you know, your husband spent an entire career saying that you need to be at home in the kitchen making sandwiches and keeping the kids clean. Okay, not out trolloping around with fireworks, pyrotechnics, and
grabbing the vice president by the back of his head.
Thank you. Did you see that Lego movie with Iran? Did you see that with her? Did you see that?
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it, y'all. You're going to get us thrown off the air.
You guys have to watch it.
Karen's getting flushed and saying, well, she's even talking about
it. It is so good. They are, I hate to say that we're getting more information from Iran, the Iranian government, than we are from our mainstream media. Like, why are they not reporting this stuff? Like, hair on fire? None of this is normal. Stop reporting this whole situation as though this is just business as usual and there's some sort of strategy. That man has never had a strategy. He has 6 bankruptcies. He is the biggest failure in American history.
Certainly at this level. I mean, and I'm just looking at some of the highlights. Emergency situation meeting room called as Iran shuts down the straits after the ceasefire debacle. Imbecile Trump admits that his threats to destroy Iran were a bluff.
No.
Trump humiliates Pam Bondi in brutal takedown that's going viral. J.D. Vance loses top aide as tensions with Donald Trump intensifies. I mean, it is a...
But that's not what's important now. It's the ballroom.
It's an effing debacle.
It's all... I mean, and it's like you have to laugh from, to keep from crying. But this is... I mean... Look, we have a crime syndicate. We have a crime family in our government. We have a Supreme Court that, I mean, we talk about 9/11, we talk about Pearl Harbor. This is by far, the Supreme Court has enabled this man to carry out an attack on our democracy, on our country.
With this so-called immunity.
Yes, with the immunity, full stop. And this is, I mean, it's not a physical attack like, Pearl Harbor and 9/11.
But some say it kind of is.
But it kind of is because, it is the complete unraveling, dismantling, tearing down of our institutions, of our rules and norms. And we better do something about the rules and norms because that can't be.
Feeling, too.
Yes,
absolutely. And how people,
I
think that's where, for me, the physical part. I mean, yes, you're right. It's not a physical attack where we're, but the physical part, the physiology of this is, and that's why I've been trying to do as best I can. I probably missed the mark on this, is just to remind folks, and you've done a great job of this, self-care. Michelle Peltier has done it. Our good friend Michelle Duster has the same thing about self-care.
Yes.
And making sure that you're finding ways, because that's the physical part.
Absolutely.
That's going on.
Because it does have an effect. I mean, your cortisol levels, that's a real thing. Mine are way out of whack.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
Yeah.
And
by the way, just so Karen just said something that some people may have said, what the hell is she talking about? Get your cortisol level checked as well as you get all your other systemic areas checked, because that will tell you a lot about how your body's regulating your bloodstream, your blood flow, your heart rate, your your blood sugar levels.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody just, I'm not trying to play doctor, but Karen said that, and I just want to add.
No, it's real.
Go get your cortisol levels checked, or be mindful of them, because that is a telling sign. So
absolutely.
We just kind of went everywhere. Our little pontoon boat is all over the lake.
We're driving all over.
But some of that.
I'm driving across a fairway.
Oh, look at you.
Or I mean, across the green. What is it?
Yeah, you drove.
Not the fairway.
You
the
drove.
green.
You drove.
I drove. I did.
Your golf cart off the fairway onto the green.
Yeah, I did.
And the sign said,
and
"Carts
you
this
know
way."
what? I didn't fix my divot either.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'll leave it for the next guy.
You're one of those sloppy golfers, huh?
And I will take as many putts as I choose.
Right. I didn't make that, but I'm going to do it again.
I'm going to do it again.
You got a problem with that?
Wait.
Go sit in the cart.
Yeah.
Go sit
it's
in the cart.
like mini golf.
Right. Go sit in the cart.
Where's the windmill?
Wait till I make this putt. Then you can say something.
Yeah.
Our cortisol levels are way out of whack.
You know what? We have to laugh.
We just went over there. We do, y'all. That right there, the endorphins from laughing, are important, and we make light of that in a good way, because so many times, Karen, I get text messages from our listeners, and they're like, I'm stressing right now, or I'm having an issue with this right now, and I hear that, guys. I read that, and I understand what you're saying, but do embark upon some self-care.
Be intentional. Be
intentional about it. Don't let you suddenly go, oh, I got to take care of this.
Yeah.
Put it in your planner. Make it part of your routine.
It really does make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. If you get up and you do like just 10, 15 minutes of stretching in the morning, or go out and take a walk.
Yep.
Go and, if you can, go see a comedy show, go to free events and whatever, if you don't have the money to do it.
And mix and mingle with some other people there, so that you're expanding your network of folks that you look at and that you acknowledge and you address. Yeah. I said this, I've said this often, is, smile at a stranger.
That's right.
And, it isn't going to cost you anything.
That's right.
Karen, we have to take a break, as you know.
Is there somebody coming on after this?
Might be. I don't know. Some dude from Chicago.
Some guy.
We'll see. 773-763-9278 is a number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I am talking with our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast. And when we come back, there's this dude from Chicago that might be hanging out with us. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
WCPT replay. I hear a lot of people saying that they hate Illinois. They hate Cook County. They literally, you can just see the passion and the anger when they talk about that. I can't wait to move away and move away. And everybody talks about getting out of the state, which, and I'll be honest with you, I love it here. But yet our house is still a seller's market. There's still more people that want to move in than are moving out. I mean, if so many people are leaving our state, then wouldn't the buyers have more power?
A lot of it has to do with how people identify. People's identity, the things they most cherish. And if you identify as someone who is conservative, you will look at some of the legislation that's been passed, pro-LGBTQ, pro-DEI, whatever other buzzwords that people on the right side of the political spectrum like to point at that are, to them, that are negative values, that our government and the majority of our people find enough value in it to protect it, abortion rights, whatever it is.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song.
You can't imagine life without them. Cancer screening tests can help keep the person you love around longer by detecting changes before cancer develops, or catch it early when it may be easier to treat. And many tests are available for free or are covered by insurance. It's time to sound like a broken record. Tell all your friends and family, I love you. Get screened. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, mostly cloudy skies with scattered showers and storms, especially through midday, high temperatures into the mid-70s. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 49. Saturday, sunny and cooler, back in the lower 60s for high temperatures, and for Sunday, partly cloudy up to 66. Showers and storms becoming likely Monday, a high of 72 degrees. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now it's 66.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
All right, guys, this is Richard Chu, and if you're just tuning in, this is Chu's Views on WCPT here in Chicago and all over the place. You know, I got to ask our next guest this question because I'm a little frustrated. It's springtime here in Chicago, and everybody's out and about doing all kinds of fun stuff. And now we got to start to deal with, Karen, we got to start dealing with bridges going up and bridges waving at us and all that kind of things that we deal with during our bridge lift season. And now we're going to see pylons everywhere. We're going to see things torn up. We're going to see people out redirecting traffic, and you can't go over here. And this dude called Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson is causing all these problems with construction in Chicago and making it hard for people to get around the city of Chicago. I'm just playing, but good morning, Mayor Johnson, and welcome to Chu's Views.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me back. And yes, construction season in full effect in the greatest city in the world.
Did he invent construction season?
You listen, everybody knows this. And I've talked to people that have visited Chicago because, you know, everybody says, don't go to Chicago in the wintertime. Go in the spring and summer and the fall. And then they come and they're like, oh, my God, your traffic is as bad here as it is in L.A. or New York. But you born and raised here just like me. You know, it's two seasons, winter and construction season, and here we are.
That's
but
right.
You're doing the thing that a mayor that's in the crosshairs of everybody on every topic has to do, and that's making sure that our roads are safe, our areas are safe, our water systems are safe, our water management programs are in line. Mayor Johnson, talk about what you and your staff have been working on this week when it comes to construction season and when it comes to some of these massive infrastructure programs that you're at the tip of the spear of running.
Yeah, thanks for raising that. And I know it's a tough, season because in one aspect, the people of Chicago have longed for economic development and for us to address our infrastructure, which, we're talking over 100 years old in many instances, while also making sure that we can move around the city and enjoy this incredible weather and all of the amenities that our city has to offer. But yeah, I mean, I said from the very beginning that we have to build better together. And building better together in the neighborhoods that have been historically disinvested in. And, later today, we're going to complete our 6th event that we've had in the last 5 days with the Department of Water Management, to your point, kicking off the start to construction season in the city of Chicago. And I just, would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the fact that our city workers are doing an incredible job building, repairing, and strengthening our neighborhoods. So today we're going to focus around our sewer systems with the new installation of a sewer main in Auburn Gresham. Again, going back to, where we have seen historic disinvestment. And, over the last couple of years, we have had multiple 100-year rains. So we're having more frequent torrential rainfalls as climate change is obviously impacting our city. And this is hard for our neighbors, particularly on the west and south side of Chicago, southwest side of Chicago, where historic rains have overwhelmed our century-old infrastructure. So that's just, one today, but the last several days, we've been in full effect, this brand new community center, this extension of Malcolm X College on the west side of Chicago along Madison, where young people and others can come to study to become nurses or other workers within our healthcare profession. And so those are just two examples of the refresh and renewal work that we're doing on our L stations, 42 of them, and multiple bus stops as well. So yeah, I mean, it's about making sure that our people are working, but it's about improving the quality of life for all of Chicago.
The Sankofa Wellness, if I'm pronouncing it, Sankofa.
Yep.
Oh,
I got you.
Wellness Village is one of your, big events that's taken place. Talk a little bit about that. It's on West Garfield area.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's right. It's another major development along Madison. Richard, you know that when Dr. King was assassinated, there were uprisings all over the country, and Madison was hit pretty hard. And we have not had historic investment. We have not had investment along the Madison corridor since those uprisings. As Dr. King said, it was, riots are the voices of the unheard crying out. And on one end of Madison, I just spoke about this community health hub center that will be an extension of the Malcolm X campus. But on the going further east, this is a development for a wellness village. And I don't know if you had a chance to read Dr. Ansell's book, The Death Gap. I met Dr. Ansell several years ago when I was a Cook County commissioner, and he used to work for the county hospital, later worked at Rush Hospital, but he talked about, which I know you're familiar with, the life expectancy gap between downtown, south side, west side. And it's one thing to document it, but it's another thing to actually do something about it. And there was a young man by the name of Marquise who came into this program that Reverend Marshall Hatch is leading, and his son on the west side, called the Ma'afa Project, where they're helping young men restore their lives who've been justice involved. And he said something back in 2017 that stayed with Reverend Hatch, that we need a health center, we need a wellness center. And it was out of those words that, it provided this incredible wellness center in the West Garfield Park community that's going to provide support for 6,000 patients annually through primary medical, dental, behavioral, reproductive health, substance use treatment. The city of Chicago put in millions of dollars as a part of our $1.25 billion Build Better Together bond. Look, the best way in which we can help our communities heal is through investments, and particularly in our health. The great predictor of someone's ability to be able to live long is really centered around their access to health. And so the Sankofa Wellness Village is the outbreak of the needs that the community said that they wanted. And I personally believe, Richard, that government has to respond to the needs of the community. The community has to direct how government should show up for their communities. And that's essentially what I've done with our Build Better Together bond investment of $1.25 billion, of which millions of dollars were placed into the Sankofa Wellness Village that was birthed out of a young brother, Marquise, who watched his 13-year-old friend die from an asthma attack. And he's seen other, just awful acts of lack of access to healthcare. And we're responding to Marquise's desire, and really grateful for the west side of Chicago for this wellness village.
Mayor Johnson, this is there's so many things to talk about, and I want to try to keep as focused as we can today, given the amount of time or lack thereof. But what you just described is a national phenomenon. It is a national phenomenon of disinvestment in communities of color, communities of gender, communities. I mean, you and I both know as black men that we've seen our Caucasian brothers and sisters in Appalachia and other parts of the country where disinvestment and robbing of resources has caused those cities, those communities to crumble in on themselves. It's a national phenomenon. I was talking with Maria Pappas earlier about Cook County tax increases, and you know this is something that you're dealing with as the largest city in the county. But a lot of these things are national phenomenon. They're not just in Chicago or Cook County. They're part of our national disinvestment in areas that need to have investment after decades of money going in areas that it's not needed. I mean, before we go, and we may take a break, we may not, but just chat about that for a minute or so if you can.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Look, I mean, there are, millions of Americans who could lose their SNAP benefits all over the country. I put forth an executive order working with the Greater Chicago Food Depository and local food distribution centers and community organizations to release resources and dollars to get to those families who could lose those SNAP benefits. Just in our region, 450,000 roughly families could lose their benefits. And because of the work that we've done with Greater Chicago Food Depository and other local establishments, we've reduced that number to 150,000 right now. And we're not done yet. We're going to make sure that we get to those last 150,000 people so that they don't lose their benefits. And you're right, whether it's in Chicago or whether it's in, central or southern Illinois, like Kankakee, or even as far south as Tams, Illinois, the impact of the Trump administration on working people has been quite severe. The last thing that I'll say is, the largest upward transfer of wealth into the hands of the ultra-rich than we've ever seen in the history of our country. And it all comes at the expense of our healthcare, access to food and education. And these are national problems that local leaders are being pushed or forced to respond to. And whether it's global population shift or climate change or SNAP benefits or infrastructure needs or housing. I know you were teasing at the top of the conversation about, all things are the problems and the cause of the mayor. But that's really the environment that we're in right now, because I'll just say it like this. When we went through a very similar dynamic in our nation's history under the Reagan administration, it was Mayor Harold Washington during his second inaugural address. He said something very profound. And he said, it's the cities that make up continents. Because at that time, cities were under very similar attack. And now here we are, as Mark Twain said, history may not repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes.
Yeah. Mayor Johnson, we're going to take a tiny break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and also AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. My in-studio guest is Karen Byrne. We're talking with Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson, and we'll be right back.
Whoa, whoa there. Where do you think you two are going? This is a union-only job site.
Hi, we're from ABOC, a leading business and labor union bank founded over 100 years ago in Chicago.
Good to know. We only let union members on this site.
ABOC was founded by labor union members. We have union leaders on our board and union employees to this day.
Okay, you've got my attention.
As you know, labor union banking requires experience and expertise.
Tell me about it.
Hi there. Labor unions get the advantage of our oversight and regulatory experience.
Get to the good part.
Hundreds of labor unions trust ABOC for their banking, including treasury management, investments, and construction loans like this one.
You worked on this job?
We sure did.
Just ask your boss.
Okay, why didn't you say so? Come on in.
Thanks.
Hey, don't forget your hard hats.
Trust ABOC, the bank for labor unions.
Hey, learn more at ABOC.com. ABOC is the brand name for Amalgamated Bank of Chicago. Member FDIC.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
We may be waking up, but we're still engaged. It's Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning in this final segment, I'm Richard Chu. This is Choose Views, and our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast is with us, and we're talking with Chicago's own Mayor Brandon Johnson. Mayor Johnson, been some ribbon cutting. There's ceremonies going on, and good stuff that you're working hard to move forward on. What are the impacts? I want to ask you this question. I thought about it earlier. What are the impacts, the financial impacts of strengthening our infrastructure? What are you seeing? What are your people telling you are the impacts when we work hard to improve our infrastructure?
Yeah, it's a great question. So you may know a couple of years ago, we went as a city for all of our public buildings to be 100% powered by renewable energy, by a solar farm in central Illinois. And that includes both of our airports. Just that effort alone is going to not only reduce carbon emissions in our atmosphere, but it's going to save us on utility. And the efforts that we're doing to provide incentives and supports for families in 2 flats, 3 flats, to be able to have retrofit infrastructure transformation. It's going to save families hundreds, if not thousands of dollars annually. And not to mention just the repairs in our water main, the flooding and the extreme torrential rain that we are experiencing on a regular basis. It just costs the city more with, cleanup and repair and, having to dump items, not to mention just the loss of valuable assets. It's that type of savings that will materialize. I mean, as we're moving forward with our lead service lines being replaced. It's not just creating jobs and opportunities. It's not just creating healthy and sustainable environments, but again, it's also reducing on the cost of just energy. Look, as prices and affordability becomes the top issue for Chicagoans, it's imperative in this moment that we provide the type of transformational investment into our infrastructure to save costs on utility, to reduce our carbon footprint, and to create jobs around what essentially is a new economy, the green and the blue economy. The last thing that I'll say is I was at Carver High School on the southeast side of Chicago, and we're putting new solar panels on the roof of that school. But check this out. The individuals who are installing these solar panels are actually young people, students from the actual neighborhood.
Wow.
So that's the type of innovation that we have taken. And that's really what it's going to take in order for us to build safe and affordable communities.
What does that look like to see young folks being involved in that type of work, particularly given your broader effort to make sure that young folks have something to do rather than snatching purses and ripping and running and causing drama?
Man, it brings my heart so much joy. I was thinking about the couple of students that were on stage with me. Sebastian was one of them. And another student. What was really cool, who's actually more excited than the students?
Who?
Their parents. Their parents, right? So, I have parents coming up to me, giving me a big hug, thanking, me and the city for investing in our young people. And here are, some individuals who may not have thought about the trade.
Still there? No? He may have lost his signal. Mayor Johnson, if you can hear us, we cannot hear you. So it may be a signaling issue. But, The thing I was going to say, and Karen, I know you wanted to maybe ask him a quick question about where we are in terms of real estate, and when we get the mayor back, we'll do that. But what he's saying is again part of the broader conversation around how do we make sure that our communities are not just safe, but they're moving away from some of the disparity and toward being more vibrant. And
the benefit to all of us.
Yeah.
To everybody. Yeah. I mean, because this is the thing. I think a lot of people feel that they're isolated and they're just kind of insulated in their own little bubble. But the reality of the situation is when we take care of all, we take care of ourselves as well. So if and that is just the fact of the matter.
It blows me away, Karen. I mean, and I know it's part of the humankind that we have people in our system, in our world, like the Peter Thiels and the Alex Karps of the world that actually are doing things to depress the movement forward of society. They think that they're doing things. I don't know if they think this. I don't want to say what they think. But based on their actions, it gives us the indication that this is going to be better. But in fact, it's all about excluding. It's all about taking away from.
And it's pitting people against one another. And they know when you divide to conquer. And that is something that the Republican Party and what they're conquering us so that they can take for themselves and give to the people that they feel are worthy of it.
Right.
At the expense of all of us down here. I mean, we have had a diminishing middle class for how many years now? And this whole thing about, food disparity and disparities in resources, it is nothing new. This is something and it is systemic racism. That is a part of systemic racism.
Yeah.
Let's be honest about it. And, there are these things in this country, in inner cities, food deserts where there are no grocery stores. And so it forces residents to have to travel outside of their communities in
which
order
is a cost.
Which is a cost. And now we're facing potential food shortages because of the idiot in the White House now.
Did you see that this USDA thing, Palantir got this $300 million, I talked about it the day before yesterday, contract to create more technology in farming. Farmers don't need that.
No.
They need to be able to grow their crops. They need fertile
and
ground
export.
And export, their
crops. I mean, we talked to John Bartman, right? And he is. If you don't follow him on YouTube.
I think he knows more about farming than the folks at Palantir do.
Yeah.
Because he's on the ground. He does it for a living. He's been doing it, 5 generations? Is that it?
I believe so,
5 generations?
Yeah.
I'd rather listen to him about farming and how to create that bare necessity of sustenance for the people in the communities that he serves.
Yeah.
So,
is the mayor back?
Yeah, is the mayor back? Not yet. Okay, all right. We but coming back to that for a second, Karen. Go ahead.
Well, so you have these underserved communities, underinvested communities, and then they're reliant, and now we're cutting SNAP benefits, from people who need it, in all communities, right? Because you spoke about, poor white folks in Appalachia, where they're also, the majority of people on SNAP benefits are white people. Yeah. Okay. That is the reality, folks.
It is.
So So, the reality of the situation is then they rely on food banks. And they rely on the food that is donated, and it's lesser grade food, which
and the timeliness of it, all that's here. Let's get the mayor back on.
Okay.
Mayor Johnson, welcome back.
Is he back?
Is he back? Oh, no.
Mayor, where are you?
There we go. Mayor Johnson.
All right.
There.
Hey, thank you for being patient with me.
Take your foot off the cord, man. Why are you stepping on the cord this morning?
Exactly. It was just really starting to get good too.
Yeah, no. The sermon was getting good, and the microphones went out.
I hate when that happens, especially when it sounds like I know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, listen, we've got limited time, and we know that we'll have you back on the show next Friday. But wrap us up on the importance of the construction season and infrastructure so that folks can, and if there is a website that folks can go to kind of get a peek into what's going on, let's give the listeners that.
Yeah, I mean, in a couple of hours or a little less than an hour, we're going to break ground on the Red Line extension. This is a great groundbreaking, Richard, as you know. This groundbreaking means so much to the south side of Chicago, but really the entire city. For generations, Chicagoans have been advocating for additional access to the rest of the city, particularly our far south side residents. And now that's going to open up our economy going in both directions. We can build around those L stations and create more opportunities for folks. Folks can always go to our website, chicago.gov, and can plug into the work that we're doing through our Build Better Together initiative, where you can see all of the different infrastructure investments that we're making, and then that people can prepare, their routes accordingly. Just know that with the construction season, it's a good thing. That's as inconvenient as it can be in some of these corridors. The transformation around our public transportation, our water mains, of course, building, community health hubs that could ultimately help sustain people's lives. These are the type of investments that I've made a commitment to administering in order to build the safest, most affordable big city in America. So thank you, Chicago, for your patience. And again, the billions of dollars of impact that this is going to have on our government and our community and the long-term sustainability of our planet. It's worth these investments. It's been a long time coming. I'm glad that I'm leading in this season to do just that.
Mayor Johnson, thanks for being with us today. Stay safe. Good luck with the opening today, and we appreciate you hanging out with us this Friday. Talk with you soon, okay?
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye now.
Go Cubs.
Go Cubs.
Go Cubs.
All right, for White Sox fans, don't get upset with me. Go Chicago baseball. How about that?
Yeah.
To keep it safe. Karen, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. Thanks to Maria Pappas and Hal Dardick for being with us earlier in the show. And, of course, thanks to Mayor Brandon Johnson of the great city of Chicago. And thanks to you guys as listeners. This week, we've had some great guests on. We've had some great conversations, and it doesn't happen without you guys being there anywhere that you listen and follow us throughout the country. Make sure to check out Karen's podcast, TruBlu Politics Podcast. Thanks to Henry. Thanks to Mike. Thanks to Devin. Thanks to Maddie B for making sure we're rolling tight. I'll be back at 2 o'clock because I'm sitting in for Joan Esposito. Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
You're the hardest working man in media.
I'm doing my thing.
I'm telling you, who do you think you are, Ali Velshi?
Maybe. Ali's, yeah, I know. All right, y'all, have a great weekend. Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And as always, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you next week.
That's the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and energy. With rebates on Energy Star appliances, so you can come back to a home full of savings. Discover more ways to save at ComEd.com/home savings. ComEd, powering lives.
From the personal experiences that shaped you to the accomplishments that shaped the world, every moment of a veteran's service is meaningful. At the Library of Congress Veterans History Project, we ensure those moments are never forgotten. For 25 years, the collection has made the experiences of U.S. military veterans accessible to all. Veterans, now is the time to share your story and make our history more complete. To submit your stories, photographs, and documents, visit loc.gov/vets today.
Epic parties start at Staples. Now you can grab Party City balloons, decorations, and tableware, plus matching custom invites, banners, and more right at Staples. That was easy.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Iran's top diplomat has called Pakistani officials over the ceasefire in the war with the U.S. and Israel. A statement says Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi spoke with Pakistan's Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar and Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir. Arachi's statement said the men spoke about, quote, regional developments and issues related to the ceasefire without elaborating. Pakistan has been trying to bring U.S. and Iranian officials back to the negotiating table in Islamabad, where they had hoped to have talks earlier this week, but did not happen. President Trump has announced a deal with drug maker Regeneron to lower the cost of its pharmaceutical products as part of the White House's signature drug pricing initiative.
It's the biggest price reduction in drugs in history. By itself, we should win the midterms, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. It doesn't work that way. People forget too quickly, but we'll have it's the biggest cut in drug prices in the history of our country by many percentage points.
The agreement involves Regeneron lowering prices on all current and future drugs on Medicaid, according to Trump. It also includes selling the cholesterol drug Prolaint for $225 on the White House's discounted drug website TrumpRx. Fernando Mendoza's journey from overlooked two-star recruit to the top of the NFL draft is complete after the Las Vegas Raiders took him with the first pick last night.
Whatever team was going to select me and be a good fit, but deep down in my heart, I knew the Raiders were most likely going to be the best fit.
The Heisman Trophy winner led Indiana to its first national championship. The 22-year-old quarterback was not in the Steel City for the festivities, choosing instead to celebrate with family and friends at home in Miami. More stories at apnews.com. This is AP News. The artificial intelligence rivalry between the U.S. and China is heating up. AP correspondent Donna Warder reports.
The Chinese artificial intelligence startup DeepSeek has launched preview versions of its latest major update, DeepSeek's V4, and users can't wait to see how it measures up against U.S. competitors OpenAI's ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, and Google's Gemini. DeepSeek says its new V4 open source models, which include Pro and Flash versions, have big improvements in knowledge, reasoning, and the ability to perform complex tasks and workflows autonomously. Marina Zhang, an associate professor at the University of Technology, Sydney, calls DeepSeek's V4 rollout a pivotal milestone for China's AI industry. I'm Donna Warder.
World shares were mostly lower while oil prices pushed higher today. U.S. futures also wavered after Wall Street pulled back from its all-time highs. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, mostly cloudy skies with scattered showers and storms, especially through midday, high temperatures into the mid-70s. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 49. Saturday, sunny and cooler, back in the lower 60s for high temperatures, and for Sunday, partly cloudy up to 66. Showers and storms becoming likely Monday, a high of 72 degrees. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now it's 68.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
At Kohl's, spring style starts with the season's best shoe sale and continues with 15% off the rest of your looks. But with great outfits from Kohl's, what happens next is unexpected. Strangers ask where you shop. The breeze feels like it's blowing just for you. Your kids pose for photos willingly. Yep, great spring outfits can do that kind of thing. Find yours at Kohl's and Kohl's.com. Select styles, offers end April 26th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Veterans and active duty service members, when your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time, my answer is always the same. Now is the best time, while it is on your mind. Being able to tell your family that you have an estate plan in place, that all the details have been taken care of, will be a great relief to both yourself and those you care for the most. Our initial consultation is without charge, and there is no obligation. My phone number is 847-996-0496, and my website is moreelawoffice.com, spelled M-O-R-E-E. I look forward to speaking with you.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.